So this is What If Belle Cornell from Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls? Is it if I'm in the dungeon? Sorry, um, was a Green Lantern. So basically, I'm not really gonna talk too long. I am still working on other what ifs, blah blah, like I normally do, and I also will be working on my reaction video or my first face reveal slash reaction video. I'm gonna be posting. It's gonna be pushed back to next week because, mainly my face is jacked up because Overwatch isn't letting my face, pretty much my facial routine go away over the summer because I'm just staying inside for the majority of the summer for like the near beginning. But the rest of the summer, I'm gonna go out with my friends and go hang out with my family the rest of the summer. So I'm just getting my face ready. So pretty simple. I'm gonna be pushing that back till next week or maybe Friday. But for now, I'm not gonna post it. So yeah. So enough of that, and let's just dive right into the video. And we start our story off with Belle Cornell, or this universe's Belle Cornell. As Belle would have been born in the same lineage and basically would have had the same life all up until the exact point of where the story would change for most of my other Belle what ifs. As Belle would have left the same bar after the Loki Familia would have shown up, basically one of the members of the Familia, the wolf guy, would have started to pretty much make fun of Belle, that Belle was a little wussy that pretty much ran away from pretty much Lady Valentine's. As Belle would have been very much, anchored by this and overall, hating by this, as he just would have walked off and not really enjoying any of it that they were doing to him. As they would have walked off eventually, and then a scene that, and as Belle would have ran out of the bar, without paying by the way, as he would have ran off, as Belle would have gone to the forest instead of going straight to the dungeon area. As he would be in the forest, as he would be crying his eyes out, as he would be embarrassed by how weak and pathetic he's being right now. As he would have been punching a tree over and over, feeling doubtful in himself, but also trying to overpower this and trying to become better. I don't really know how I would say better, but Belle just overall just stands there in self-loathing, but still tries to keep his mind straight and not try to pretty much do something stupid. As Belle would have been doing this, as Belle would eventually look up in the skies, wishing that something would change, wishing that he would have, power, a chance to become the best he can possibly be. As he would look up into the skies, as he would see some sort of shooting star, but as soon as it got closer, as he would see the shooting star was heading straight for him, as it would have been a green glow. As Belle would have booked it and very much jumped out the way. As soon as he jumped out of the way, he was pushed into a nearby tree from some sort of weird wind pressure, as he would have looked behind him, seeing a ship crash, or some sort of metal orb to him crash. As he would have looked around, as he would see Aben Sur, as Aben Sur would have given his ring to Belle, seeing that he was the only person, the closest person that had the most powerful willpower out of about 2 other humans on the planet, or beings on the planet, that had incredible outlandish willpower. As Belle would be one of those 3, as he would be basically, or not one, he would be one of those 2, as Belle would have been the closest, so he would be the obvious choice. As Belle would have been given the ring, as Belle would have been thrown the ring, the ring would have been thrown, but the ring would have flew onto Belle's finger, as Belle would be engulfed in some sort of unrecognizable green light, as his lantern suit wouldn't be manifested yet, as it would just be over his body, lantern energy just consuming him. As Belle would have looked at Aben Alder, asking pretty much what is this, as he would have answered with your destiny, as he would have looked at Belle and would have told him the exact words, I mean word for word, what he told Hal Jordan in the comics, as he would have died there, as the ship would have gone into self-destruct, as it would be set to go self-destruct, not to leave any traces behind. As Deku would be pushed away, basically being dragged off by the lantern, or the lantern, and pretty much the Green Lantern, as it would have hooked onto Bell and would have pushed him out the way before the explosion would have gone off. As the explosion would have gone off, leaving nothing behind but some blood or some pretty much scars or remnants of Aben Adul's. I don't remember it. Freak! I forgot his name. Dang. The alien. Basically, the alien ship would have been destroyed. Just little fragments of it lean left and some of his blood on the fragments. So after that, you get switched later that hour, as Bell would be told by the Lantern, basically a little bit of a rundown of pretty much Oa being shown an image of Oa, but not being shown the real deep crevices of the origin and foes he might go up against in the future. As Bell would just be told the basics of how the Lantern Ring works by the Lantern, as the Lantern would have somewhat of an artificial intelligence, kind of not artificial intelligence, kind of like just an alien Siri, as it would just tell him everything he needed to know about the ring, as the ring would act the same way it did in, well, the comics, as the ring would have been pretty much used and tested by Bell, as Bell would use the duration of the whole night until 6 a.m., as he would have been training his power and basically learning the basis, as his willpower would be incredibly powerful, as his focus would be unimaginable, as he would be able to get it on the first try with perfectly for the very first time any Lantern has ever done that. So Bell was able to do incredible things. As Bell would eventually, manifest constructs, laser blasts, blast effects, shields, and other objects like that, and him being able to build up his willpower stronger and stronger and stronger with each attack, as he would be able to cut through trees and pretty much do kicks and flips and stuff like that. Him also figuring out that he can fly, and also having some sort of durability, as one of the trees he cut down would have fell on top of him during his training montage, as it would have broken on contact on Deku's body, as his force field would have snapped it in two. As Bell would have had, pretty much incredible power, as he would be, pretty much soaring through the sky, cheering at the top of his lungs when he had this power to his fingertips, as at first he would think it was magic, but later on he would figure out that it was science or tech. But for now, we're going to leave it off there for the story of the Green Lantern ring, as we get switched, mainly to Bell's story. As for the ring part, Deku just has the base abilities and the same willpower, by like 2% stronger, the same exact willpower how Jordan has in the comics, as he also has pretty much the same creativity as Stewart Green Lantern. So that's one thing. So he has the creativity of Stewart Green Lantern and also the willpower of Hal Jordan Green Lantern combined into one, as he also has a little bit of willpower that Bell already has in canon on top of Hal Jordan's willpower, and he also has the creativity of Stewart, but also a little bit of creativity from his own mind, pretty much slapped onto that creativity that's already powerful, because Stewart is already pretty much an architect, so he has a lot of imagination. So basically during this time, Bell would have been soaring through the sky, as he would eventually landed in front of the pretty much church where Lady Estia would have been waiting there all night for Bell, as Bell would have appeared behind her not noticing that Bell flew or landed behind her, as Bell would be, not having his lantern suit yet, but just having the ring on, as he would have put the ring behind his back, as he would look at Lady Estia and would have hugged her, saying that he was out in the dungeon, as Lady Estia would say that she was worried sick about him, but they would start to talk, and basically we get switched to later that day or later those episodes, as pretty much we get switched to episode 2 season 1, as Lady Estia would be checking Bell's stats, basically trying to figure out what happened, as pretty much none of his physical stats would have changed, since at this time Bell would have had the ring off, stashed away somewhere, not wanting Lady Estia to see it, because he didn't really wanted to tell her just yet, as Bell would just be tested and looked on his stats going up one time higher like in canon. Basically, his stats being the same like in canon during this time, as he would have, progressed a little bit. But as during this time, pretty much Lady Essie would tell him his stats, and pretty much Belle was, excited about this. As Belle would have pretty much flirting with Lady Essie, finding a newfound confidence. Lady Essie not really picking up on this very quickly, but picking up on it very lately, or very late, as soon as she left that pretty much, a house, or pretty much the place that they were living in together. She would have noticed or realized that Belle flirted with her for the very first time, and she just ignored it. So pretty much during this time, Belle would still be in the pretty much church, and he was about to get ready for training, as he was gonna go out to train with his lantern ring to figure out its true potential, as he would have put on his original suit like in canon, but having the sleeves rolled up, or his original outfit like in canon, but would have had his sleeves rolled up with the lantern ring, putting it on, and him walking off. During this time, Belle would have used this time to pretty much walk around, as before he went to train, he would go back to the bar, paying them back what he owes them, because originally, he'd still run away from pretty much, or run out of the cabin without paying. Him still being threatened by the owner of the cabin, or not cabin, but owner of the bar, as Belle would have apologized, and basically would have ran into the same, silver-haired or gray-haired girl as he would in original, as it would be the same girl that had a crush on Belle, giving Belle a little bit of a lunch before he went to the dungeon, or went off. As obviously everybody knows, like she obviously likes Belle, but for some reason Belle doesn't even realize this, or maybe he does. He just doesn't want to give into it. Now, basically, during this time, Belle would have walked off, as he would still get threatened by still again, or teased again by the pretty much owner of the bar, as he was about to leave. As Belle would have bright eyes going to the dungeon, as he would want to go train in the forest, basically with his lantern ring. What was seen that fighting against other enemies, such as monsters, would have been a lot more of a better target practice for him. As we get switched to Lady Essie, going to a god type party or meetup for other gods or familiar leaders, as she would have been walking around, but also would have been pretty much stashing away food as well. So basically, during this time, we will see that Lady Essie would have been interrupted by pretty much Athena, as Athena would have paid her attention towards Lady Essie, as during this time, now Lady Essie would still get in an argument with Loki, or this universe's version of Loki, as she would still make the comment about Loki being flatter than a freaking rake, or being flatter than the floor, or just overall just teasing her, as they would still get into a little bit of a conversation or confrontation, as it would be the same thing, but basically nothing really changing too much. But during this time, we would get switched to pretty much Belle in the dungeon, as Belle would have been in the dungeon, and what he would do in the dungeon, he would just train, privately away from other adventurers, him using his ring to make constructs and sword, pretty much, constructs and also shields, and also figuring out his true speed in terms of flight, as he would be flying around the pretty much labyrinth, or the pretty much dungeon, as he would use his lantern ring to take down multiple other demons, or pretty much more or less monsters, as he would take down more monsters and stuff like that. Eventually, him building up some experience with the lantern ring, as he would go back out in the town, as he would run into one of the other gods there, as he would be looking at some armor, but him just not really looking at the armor with too much intent in his eyes, not really being serious of having one, because he would have had the lantern ring. He wouldn't really need anything like an armor, since he already had the lantern ring and its power, but he wouldn't be able to activate the suit form just yet. But during this time, Belle would have pretty much gone back to the house area, or the house, as we would get switched to Lady Essie, still making the whole beg or plead to make Belle a dagger by one of the pretty much welder gods, as she would have pretty much begged her, like on her knees, like literally begging. So yeah, so basically that's what happens, and would have gone down the same. Now Belle would still come across the cat girl and the elf girl that worked at the bar, the same as the silver-haired girl, the white-haired girl, as they would still talk to Belle just like in canon, nothing really changing too much. As Belle would also still, walk up or pretty much come across Lady Estia, as he would go on a little bit of a date with Lady Estia. Now doing this, that Belle and Lady Estia would still go on a date prior, like same as canon, nothing really changing too much, as Belle would have his ring hidden underneath his pretty much gloves he would be wearing. As he would have gone, his same date with Lady Estia, getting some, pretty much snacks and stuff like that all around. As Belle would eventually, just, have a little snack with Lady Estia, as he would still do the same thing, as he would actually actively, like, straight up flirt with her to her face, as she would be incredibly, very much surprised on Belle's boldness. As pretty much during this time, when Belle pretty much wiped that pretty much whipped cream off her face, as she would have ate from his, pretty much cone. And don't be dirty, guys. I know I have some friends that watch my channel that are dirty minded as heck, but basically, pretty much, Belle has the same type of conversation, or more or less, date experience with Lady Estia. But since he has a lot more, some sort of newfound confidence, he somewhat is able to flirt or actively flirt just on instinct, I guess, for his matter. He's straight up just flirts with Lady Estia to her face, like he hard flirts with her too. So yeah, so Lady Estia is kind of put it back of this, but actually kind of admires Belle's newfound confidence. As for we switch away from that, as we get switched to pretty much Lady Athena talking to some sort of monster, as the monster would have been told to go after the kid with the same hair as her, aka the monster being the white gorilla that would eventually, attack the, pretty much what was it? The stands, as it would have started to attack people left and right, going after Belle and pretty much booking it after him. As Belle would have been booking it, trying to get away as possible, or fast away as possible, as eventually Belle and Lady Estia would almost get cornered, as Belle would have used his time to try to focus his willpower, but being too, unfocused or not concentrating enough, because the monkey or the gorilla would have been drawing away his attention as fast as possible and not being able to focus and draw his willpower. As he would be focusing more and more, as he would start off the fight using his base powers, not really relying on the lantern ring too much, but eventually when he got hit, the lantern ring would have kicked in and a bright light of energy would have went off. As Belle would eventually notice that the gorilla was trying to go after Lady Estia, but Belle in that sport minute did activate the lantern ring, stopping the gorilla's hand and literally cutting off the gorilla's hand in one foul swoop, making a huge blade manifestation, or like a huge blade construct, as it would have cut through the gorilla's arm clean. As Belle would have not gotten up, as he would have started to fly in the air, as his suit would have started to manifest over his body. Basically, his suit being as same as his picture. Basically, as Belle would have started to go against the gorilla-like animal, as he would have started to slice and dice towards it, making huge constructs like a fist, and also huge constructs like a moat, or pretty much a giant log, kind of like a pretty much booby trap type of attack, as he would have started to take down the gorilla as fast as possible, using a barrage of constructs and laser beams, as he would eventually start to overpower the gorilla over and over and over and over, as that gorilla would soon get overpowered, as Lady Estia would have pretty much seen all of this, her being surprised on Belle's power, as Belle would eventually start to use his willpower more and more and more, eventually out of nowhere, for this canon or this universe, because of plot reasons, the monkey would have had a type of light or laser beam attack, as his light attack would have been a yellowish color, it being able to go up against Belle's constructs and pretty much take him down or deflight him, as his suit would have been deconcentrated or pretty much dematerialized as he would have fell down to the ground, as Belle and Lady Estia would have taken this time to book it, as Belle would still corner Lady Estia or lock her up, basically getting her out the way so he can pretty much finish off the job, as he would have locked up Lady Estia behind a gate, telling her that he needed to do this alone, and he didn't want to get her, pretty much get her killed. So pretty simple. So doing this, Belle would have booked it back to the pretty much gorilla, as he would have not deconscious, but as he would materialize his suit, as he would have started to fly around the town, as he would eventually notice pretty much the gorilla. As before that, he would still have the flashback like in canon of his old life, and pretty much a memory he had very vividly that he remembers now about a childhood memory about himself, that he had incredible willpower as a child. As Belle would have gotten ready to fight against the gorilla, as he would have started to fight the gorilla over and over, as he would have started to barrage him with light attacks, as eventually the gorilla would have used his light attack, his yellow colored light attack, the same as canon, or not the same as canon, but the same as this fan fiction, as it would have started to overpower Belle's constructs. Basically, the only power or the only weakness lanterns had were the color yellow. So during this time, Belle basically started to try to overpower pretty much the animal without using his lantern ring, basically just using his lantern strength, as it wouldn't really do much, as he would get hit a few times by the yellow light ray. As he would be overpowered, his suit almost about to get dematerialized again, as he would have looked around, as he would grab pretty much his knife he had on him before as in canon, as he would still do the same attack, as his blade would still snap like in canon, just it happening a little bit later. Now what would happen is pretty much everything besides stories leading up to the fight against Belle and the gorilla would have still ended up, as Lady Estia would still draw the dagger basically she intended to give Belle, as she would still want to give it to Belle, even though Belle shown some sort of newfound power that she wanted to know more about. But basically, during this time, Belle would have started to go toe-to-toe with the gorilla, pretty much knocking it down and eventually just overpowering it in terms of just overall versatility and his powers. As Belle would eventually dodge more and more attacks, but eventually, since his, weakness to yellow, and they are fighting pretty much very brutally, plus the gorilla was using a lot of light attacks and a lot of yellow attacks, as Belle would be cornered and on the ground, basically him being beaten up and bruised, as Belle would have gotten back up, as he would have used the one last bit of willpower he had left in the tank, as he would have out of nowhere his eyes would start to glow bright, pretty much green, as he would have started to chant the word, or the pretty much Green Lantern vow, as he would have started to chant in blackest night, in brightest day, no evil shall escape my sight. But those that worship evil's lights before my power, Green Lantern's might. As he would have started to chant those words over and over, as eventually he would have yelled it out loud, as people would start to crowd around, as Belle would have released a huge blast of green energy, disintegrating disintegrating the gorilla in one foul swoop, as a diamond would have been left behind, a giant diamond, or a giant stone, as Belle would have been able to take down this, monster in a matter of minutes, as Belle would have been, tuckered out by this extreme, power or display of willpower, as Belle would have fell into the ground, him being out of breath and him passing out, as Lady Estia would be there still, as she would have shown up a little bit later, as Lady Estia would have grabbed Belle and would have gotten him out there, as Belle would have left, as Belle would have been taken back to the church by pretty much, Lady Estia, as Lady Estia would put the dagger on the counter, well not the counter, but on the pretty much nightstand, as she would have started to pretty much talk to Belle, as Belle would have been on the floor, or not the floor, but would have been on the bed, as Lady Estia would try to talk to him about the ring, as Belle would tell her about the ring and everything that happened when he got it, and pretty much saying that he was very sorry, guys, for not telling her, as he would just say that he was kind of confused and was trying to figure it out himself before he told Goddess. So as pretty much as he would understand, but just telling Belle not to keep secrets like this away from her. So what happened is Lady Estia would have given Belle the dagger still in canon, but him not using it in that moment. As Belle would still pretty much, well, that's where the episode would have left off there. As Belle would have gone to sleep, the episode ended up there, and Lady Estia figuring out Belle's secret. Sorry guys, I just had a big cough and my voice is like killing me. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you like and subscribe, and as always guys, have a blessed day.